welcome to Grit with Wisdom. This is the podcast that delves deep into the inner psyche of mountain bikers from all aspects of our sport in order to discover the tools and the tactics that can help us have more fun out on the trails more often. Our aim here is to help you understand what it takes to push our own personal boundaries in the sport we love from a mental and emotional perspective.
Hello, and welcome back, everyone. I am sitting down here today with 𝗳𝗽𝗹𝗆. We've just got back from an awesome ride on the hill here in 𝗬𝗺. Joe is really active in the local mountain bike community here as a coach, as a mentor, a volunteer, and also as an enduro racer. Coaching-wise, Joe runs her own foundation, which is called 𝗳𝗽𝗋𝗀𝗆, very fittingly. And you specialize in mountain bike camps, mountain bike lessons for women, and it's all ran by female coaches as well, which is really cool. On top of that, Joe also works in town here as an RMT and runs her events on the weekends at trail centers all around the province. So super excited to get into a chat here today and continue what we're talking about on our ride. Joe, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Super stoked to have you here. Why don't we start then for people that haven't already met you out on the trails? It'd be cool if you could tell us a little bit about where you grew up and when bikes first came into your life.
Oh, yeah, cool. I grew up on Bone Island, so not too far from here, but surprisingly, I actually never came out to see the sky. I spent my whole childhood staring across the highway, but never actually came up until I left high school. I rode horses growing up, and that wasn't something that was like really handed to me. That was something that I like just so badly wanted to do, and I did everything I could. I'd be like, if I do the dishes and like these chores, like, can I go riding for 1 hour a week? And like just begged my parents so much. Like, just had this need for that feeling, which I thought would come from a horse.
Yeah.
So I did that for 20 years, dedicated like my whole life to it, got super into it. And then kind of one day just realized that it wasn't going anywhere. And I can't remember exactly how mountain biking happened, like the day that it happened. But the first ride, after my first ride on a mountain bike that I invited myself out to with a boyfriend at the time, I was like really hooked and was okay with moving on from horses because I was like, biking's actually what I've been looking for this whole time. Yeah.
That's a cool story.
Definitely got into biking really slowly. Wasn't my priority like right off the bat, but I instantly knew like this is definitely for me.
Right, and kind of like on a mountain bike from day one as opposed to like growing up riding other bikes?
Yes, I was literally had no idea what mountain biking was. The boys were always off doing it, and I was just like, I want to come, and they're like, I don't know. And then someone was away, and I borrowed this like medium, or like a medium to large size, like the bike that was way too big for me, full on downhill bike. Went to the North Shore.
Yep.
Took me down, ladies only.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a baptism of fire.
Yeah. And so then they were kind of like, yeah, I guess you can come. Like, if you can keep up, you can come. And obviously I didn't keep up. And it's like a double black trail I struggle riding now. And that was my first ride.
That's a harsh way to get it.
Yeah, or one of my first rides. I think I played around in a park or something before that. But yeah, I was on a downhill bike on a gnarly trail. Like, that was my intro.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it really shows that you must have seen something that you loved.
Yeah, I don't think I rode most of them, but the little sections that I wasn't tumbling down, I was into it.
And I'm curious that, like, describing that feeling that you were chasing kind of growing up riding horses.
Yeah.
How would you describe that?
Yeah, it's so funny because I still feel like it's what drives me today. I think it is like that feeling of very much being in the moment, looking ahead. And then you're feeling the world beneath you, around you. You're feeling the world to your feet. You're feeling it through your hands. Like, you're literally feeling the earth and the rocks and the roots, like, through your body. And I think running or walking never really did it because it wasn't quite fast enough or wasn't flowy enough.
Really?
There's something about biking and horse riding that has this, like, beautiful dancey, flowy feeling that kind of did it for me.
Yeah.
But you're also very focused and
I love that description. Yeah, and I think what you're saying there, it's almost like the speed forces you to be focused.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
combining that with the connection to nature, does that?
Mhm.
And then obviously these days here, Mount Blanc is a huge part of your life.
Yes.
Here in Squamish, I'd love to find out more about like going from like that first time on a mountain bike, like, okay, this is something I'd like to try more.
I like how you asked that because it makes me like reflect on the journey. Because I feel like bikes are so natural and easy as part of my life now. But it was definitely a struggle. Like I think at one point I was actually told I was so bad at mountain biking I should probably quit. I crashed a lot. I just had like injury after injury. I was pretty bad actually.
I think we all started out pretty bad, right?
But it was like a really and maybe we see it. I definitely see it in like select people. Is I had zero skill, but like all the keenness.
Right.
So like I would see a big gap jump, and I'd be like, I want to hit that, and I actually didn't know. I didn't have a skill for it. At least now I
Totally.
still come to feature something I can do it and actually can't. So that was like a big battle for the first couple of years, and yeah, just not having encouraging people around. I never met any women who rode. I had a boyfriend at the time who wasn't super encouraging about it. So it was really hard. I feel like I really pushed to continue.
Yeah, it must have been a lot of discipline in going back and going back.
Mhm.
And you're not getting any encouragement to keep you riding where it's already. And yeah, from the training, yeah.
Stolen after having ridden it for 2 days.
Sure.
I saved up for 6 months, bought this beautiful bike. I still remember it. It was all white with black components. That thing was pretty.
Yeah.
2 days it got stolen.
Oh my God.
So like just things like that, it's like hitting the wall.
So tough, yeah, almost like you were put through every test possible.
Yeah.
Like, do you really want to do this, Jade?
Yeah, but I think like now, like every opportunity that I've gotten, like every little step of progress, I'm like so grateful for it, and like it feels so good, because I just like know what it was like to not have that.
Totally, yeah, and I think that's great for people listening who maybe are just starting out in mountain biking or in the
It's
sport.
a rough journey.
Yeah, but like keep pushing through it, and it's
Yeah.
like the fruit of that reward comes afterwards. So
Yeah.
you mentioned that now, like we went out for a ride, it's easy, it was fun,
Mhm.
right? So it does get better.
It's kind of like like surfing or something like that too. It's like if you think of the whole process that goes into it, and you only have about like maybe 2 seconds of like pure bliss, and like 3 hours of like struggle.
Yeah.
But those 2 seconds just keep you coming back, and those 2 seconds turn into 10 seconds, and so on.
I can relate. Do you do
Yeah.
a bit of surfing as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Very little bit.
Me as well. Yeah,
We're in the 2
that's
seconds.
why I could relate.
2
It's
seconds still.
hard work, isn't it? You spend your whole session paddling out, you're smashed by the waves,
Yeah.
half the time getting washed back in by the waves.
Oh yeah.
So maybe catching one or two and getting those 2
But
seconds.
that's all
of
you think
bliss.
about
Totally.
until you go next year.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So would you say that kind of journey at the start of your mountain biking career had a big part to play in what you're doing now?
Oh, 100%. Like it's almost like it's such an emotional, like I just feel so like emotionally strong about it. Like having women there to, I mean, it doesn't have to be women. It can just be any human supporting another human through their progression, and also taking them through a sport safely. Because I don't want, like I did learn in the safest way.
Totally.
And so I want to like, really help people. And when you learn safely, you also learn quite quickly, because you're not you're not getting like pushed back to shore or whatever. You're not having
Totally.
not getting those knockdowns. So I just like believe so strongly in that, and I think women are able to understand each other pretty well, and just on the mental side of things, and just vibe off each other. Yeah. So I feel pretty strongly with what I'm able to do because of what I've experienced, for sure.
I love that mentality, and it's definitely so cool to see how you've turned like potentially some of your negative experiences into something so positive now.
Definitely. Yeah.
And tell us the story about becoming a coach. When did you first decide to become a coach, and how long have you been doing it now?
Yeah, for sure. I think like a few things along the way. I think I did meet the first 2 women that I met. I was probably 3 years into mountain biking at the time.
Okay,
Like
yeah.
just I was. When I say 3 years in, I was kind of like weekend with whoever could take me out. Like I wasn't really independently going yet. Had a big downhill bike, so bike parks or shoveling only. Like relying on a lot of other people, and they were all dudes. And then actually it was at a coffee shop, and I overheard a girl talking about mountain biking, and I like ran over to her. I was like, "Do you mountain bike?" And she was like, "Yes." And I'm like, be my friend. Let's go
That's so
biking.
cool.
Yeah, and it was like so amazing because she introduced me to all of her friends, and it just like kick-started this whole thing. And that was like suddenly I was part of the mountain bike community. And then I met another girl who she's in the community. Her name is �ธ์𝗺𝗀𝗺𝗵. She's also a really amazing coach at 𝗬𝗺. She was one of the first women I met, and I think she was coaching at the time, so it kind of like planted that seed. And I just really looked up. She was also like totally took me under her wing with racing, and and I would see her ride, and like I can't imagine ever riding like that.
Yeah.
But seeing a woman do it, suddenly it made it look possible. So I think it was like that seed was planted. Then when I moved to Squamish and was looking for a job, that was kind of how I did sports up to this point. Like to pay for courses, I got my instructor certification and I taught kids because that was how I paid for my riding. So it's just like and I taught swimming lessons. It's kind of like I was like, I want to do this sport, so therefore I should probably learn how to teach it.
Right.
It's like was this natural thing of how to pay for that sport. So I'd say that's kind of what encouraged me to do it. And then I did a program called Peak Leaders through Whistler.
Okay.
They don't run it anymore. It is still an organization that's happening around the world. But anyways, it was this incredible experience. It was a 2-month-long coaching course. It was kind of like it was like a school almost.
Okay. Yeah, that
It's
would have been incredible. Like,
Yeah, in the bike parks, like rode the bike park every day. I was the only woman doing it. So that was intense.
Yeah, how did you find that
It
experience?
was terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I learned it like made me stronger. Like there was some I think I say it was terrible, but it was also amazing because I met all these like amazing dudes who were so kind and so supportive, and all the people I was working with were very encouraging. I think
Right.
the instruction was at that time, like that's almost 10 years ago, so it was like it's just come so far, right? And like
Yeah.
how do we teach all bodies and all humans how to ride? I think we're a lot more understanding of that. And I just remember one thing that really stuck with me was we were all riding and I hadn't received any feedback yet, and I was like, hey, how did that look? He was like, well, you ride like a girl, so that's what it looked like.
Terrible.
Yeah.
It's like,
So it
yeah.
sounds horrible, but like weirdly, again, that was one of those triggers. I was like, that needs to change. Like that's not
No.
okay. Like
Oh,
no, I
sure.
ride like a human. What am I doing differently?
Exactly.
And he never was able to tell me like what riding like a girl meant. So it's weird that I still remember that one thing, because the overall program was like I learned so much. It was everything it like created who I am now as a rider for sure. Like learned so much stuff that I still use. But that really affected me.
Yeah. I know.
But again, like in a positive way almost.
Yeah, using that negative experience to be like, this is what needs to change. And that's perfect. This is exactly what I want to talk about next. Tell us about what you're doing now. Tell us about 𝗳𝗺𝗂𝗺𝗵.
Yeah. So 𝗳𝗺𝗂𝗺𝗵 has just been this really slow progression. I think I've just been over the years, like since I worked for so I had Peak Leaders. That was really cool because they automatically just hire into the bike park. So for 3 years, I got lots of experience just teaching everyone from all over the world, from like someone who's never even ridden a bike before to like someone who was actually much better than me, and I just learned so much. And then I worked for a local company here in town with a friend and started developing programs with 𝗫𝗪𝗪 cycling, which was an incredible experience. And I sort of came up with the idea of a women's program, started that, and I just sort of kept narrowing down like what is the sort of perfect products that I want to create to offer people. I want to give someone like the best day on the bike, right? So that's when these retreats to the Coast Gravity Park were kind of born out of that. And that was kind of like my baby, like then didn't start with renting out the park, but I would like bring all these women to the park, hire lots of instructors. I just have this day, you've been Coast Gravity.
Yeah,
It's an
totally.
amazing place to progress.
Yeah,
Really
amazing
chill.
little bike park. It's
Yeah.
like what, some pecky trails and then
Yeah.
lots of jumps, beautiful films as well.
Yeah. So just kind of developed 𝗳𝗺𝗂𝗺𝗵 just from that event. Really, I just
Yeah.
wanted like a nonprofit foundation so I could run that event.
That's so cool. So from what I read, it's all about making mountain biking more accessible to women in the 𝗬𝗪 Sky.
Yeah. Exactly. It really is open to everyone. I will always be open to everyone, and with women, it's like those who identify as women as well. It's trying to be as open as possible, but we, it's still, I guess that is exclusive in a certain way, which actually I will touch on later.
Okay.
Because it's changed. But yeah, it's just to create a space that's really safe for women to show up and feel like really vibe off the energy of other women and not have that like intimidation factor of like seeing all, I mean, it could be a good thing too, but seeing all the dudes roll up and like that like big free ride energy, you know what I mean?
No, but I think that there is plenty of space for that.
Yeah.
If someone like a guy or a girl wants to go and find that, they can find that.
Exactly.
So it's great now that you're creating these safe spaces for women, and
yeah, it's just
I
like
love your staff
you know?
too. There's all these pathways for female instructors as well.
Yes.
Just for young kind of up and coming female riders can be like, hey, that's a job that I could do at all.
Yeah.
They didn't exist 10 years ago.
Yeah. And like, yeah, I mean, obviously I don't offer a lot, but yeah, try to make it really worth it for people to come and coach. And this year was kind of my favorite because we showed up a day early and we like just had a whole day with coaches just to ride, which we've never done.
Oh, that's really cool. So
really
progression
fun.
there for the coaches.
Yes.
Is nice.
Yeah, we just like party trained and went for dinner and camped and really bonded. And then it was so cool how it then just created, you know, the most fun day the next day because everyone, you know, we've got our riding out of our system.
Totally.
We're like now ready to give that to other people. Yeah, so I've just been trying to make this day better and better.
It's so awesome. And like, how many coaches, how many groups do you usually have?
Yeah, so my last one was the biggest. I think I had 60 riders.
Wow, that is a party.
Yeah, and 10 coaches. Yeah, so it was really big, or that felt big for me anyway.
Totally. Yeah, that's huge.
I never saw myself as I'm not, my strength is like being a coach and connecting to people.
Great.
But on like definitely a one-on-one or a small group level, I have never seen myself as like an event organizer and that's kind of who I became.
Right.
And an administrator, a website designer. So all these things, so, you know, you just have to do that as well. So it's been stressful, but it's been really fun.
I can relate. All these other jobs that you never think of can spring up along the journey.
But yeah, seeing everyone's like very genuine. Like I don't think I've seen so many women in one spot just like genuinely like smiling and laughing and like the hooting and hollering down the trails and like that like feeds my soul. That makes me so freaking happy. Like that's all I want. I just want people to have fun in life.
Yeah, that's
like,
fantastic.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask as well, like from your perspective, doing all of this amazing work, how do you feel about the current trajectory of mountain biking becoming perhaps a little more inclusive, and where do you see it going in the next 15 or 5 years?
Yeah, for sure. I think like it's amazing, but also has a really long way to go. There's all these it makes these huge leaps forward, like especially in a free ride scene. So cool. But then it also has these like leaps backwards as well. And it's kind of hard to explain, but I see a lot of women come up to me and talk about how intimidated they are, and how scared they are, and how they don't know if they're good enough, or am I going to hold people back, or like I'm going to be too slow, and that kind of thing. And I don't know if that because they're now seeing, oh, actually girls are so good at riding. Maybe I'm a girl too, but maybe that's what riding is, and I am not that. So I'm hearing that conversation a lot these days, or like girls are like, oh, you're so badass, I can't ride with you. I'm like, no, I don't like that. They're like, no, that's not what we're about, right? So it's just these like huge step forward, but then this broader group maybe not being as included. I don't know.
Yeah, and what part do you think social media has to play in that?
Everything.
Yeah, well, we kind of touched on this on our ride, like we've both got personal experience.
Yeah. I think it's really cool. Like I definitely get inspired. I love seeing other chicks out there shredding, but it can be pressure too. Like, yeah, as we were saying, like features just don't look as big in social media, and you might see someone riding it that you might think that you're a little bit similar to, and then you'll go check out the feature and you're like, oh my goodness, that is huge. And then you'll be like, well, what's wrong with me? Like, how come I can't hit that? Like, we ride together. Or it can perpetuate those thoughts, I think.
Yeah. Do you have any tools or anything you're telling yourself like in that situation?
Yeah,
to try and process some of those things?
I always try. It is definitely like a struggle for me for sure. But lately, like this year, maybe it's like a new thing for me is I try to just like every thought like that comes to my mind, I try to just like rephrase it and be like, I'm so damn happy for that person that they're doing that. That's so rad. I'm so excited for them. This is clearly not for me, and that's totally fine. I'm gonna do what makes me happy. Like, so look at.
Yeah, I love that. Like, turning into gratitude for a friend.
Yeah.
And also like allowing yourself to hurt. It's okay. Just I do want to write it.
And just trying to. I think my partner calls me on that a lot because I'll go up to a feature and be like, oh, I really want to try this, and he's like, why, did you see it on social media or something? I'll be like, no.
It's a good check, isn't it? To be like, okay, like, cool, you want to write this? Why do you want to do it?
Yeah.
I try and do that to myself a lot as well. Like, KJ, cool, you want to write it? Why do you want to write this?
Yeah.
Because so often there is like an outside motivation that's kind of crept in without you even realizing.
Yeah. But yeah, I also see that it can really help. Like, I know that people have talked to me and that maybe it can be a really helpful thing. You see someone ride something quite smooth, or you don't make something look sketchy, and it can be quite inspiring to be like, okay, that they made that look pretty easy. Maybe it is possible for me to do it. Like, that didn't look scary. So it can go either way.
It's the positive side of the scale, isn't it? We were talking about that on our ride just now. Like, oh, I wish we could see someone do this feature, because maybe then both of us would ride it.
Yes.
Yeah. I also wanted to ask you about the Ride with the Girl mentorship program. You've been a part of that one as well.
Yeah, I honestly wish I had more. It's such a cool program. I wish I had more time to do it, because I just think that is what naturally did happen to me. Like, it wasn't until I met the first girl shredder that it kind of brought my riding to the next level, or got me to the next level excited. So I think it is a really good program. For mine, it was just really chill. I would meet up once a month and just go for a ride. But it was so cool, because I felt like I had this emotional attachment to this one girl I rode with last year. Just how to open it? I really cared about her safety during the ride. Almost I don't know, it was almost really protective over her. I was like, I know you can do this, but just take it easy.
So from what I understand, the program pairs you with younger up and coming riders.
Yeah.
And there's a whole bunch of you mentors and a whole bunch of their teachers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's pretty individual. There are a couple of events a year where you can meet everyone. I wasn't able to attend any of those, but it is just you're connected with this one person, and it was kind of cool, because you see them at the races, or you're just sort of someone that's there for them if they need it, essentially. Yeah, it's pretty chill.
Awesome. I love it. So rather than having to really put yourself out there and find a random female rider at a coffee shop like you had to.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, these girls are lucky enough to be paired with riders that are already doing amazing things, and have a good mindset and good questions to teach.
And you're kind of available if they want to ride more. I would totally make myself available, but it's no pressure. But
that's great.
Nice to have. Yeah.
Yeah, good on you for doing that. Because I know you're already incredibly busy, working full time, running a foundation, doing all of these races and all things yourselves.
Yeah, it was a nice thing to experience for sure.
Yeah.
Even just showing them come and show you my favorite trails and follow my lines. It was just fun to have someone tag along,
But and what are some of the main lessons that you're hoping to leave these young riders with?
Yeah, I think just nothing too specific really. Just get out on a ride and just have a nice time. I think they're at, or at least my experience, it is at the age group you're working with, you don't need to do a ton of coaching. They're already in so many programs already. They're in school, they're in gymnastics, they're in dance, they're in all these things that are very coaching heavy. So it's nice just to be able to chat about their friends and their drama and their school, or just completely ride in silence and just exist with them. Nothing really, just chill out in the woods and have a nice time.
I love that.
Yeah,
it's
really nothing more
showing them how to have a fun time almost by doing random and telling them.
Yeah, exactly.
That's great. I love it. And I was curious, have you, either from your coaching students or from your mentees through that program, is there anything you've learned from your students that you're oh wow, that's really cool, I'm going to take that away?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is the importance of if you learn really solid body position really early, everything is possible.
Yes.
If your body position is off just a little bit, everything's going to be off. So I think that, yes, seeing these younger riders learn good body position so early on is quite exciting, because then they progress quite quickly, and recognizing that is really what held me back for quite a while. Is I just had the worst, or that old school lean back and hang on the body position.
I'm nodding my head here, because I totally wish I learned this when I was a teenager.
Yeah, so it's really cool to recognize they're setting themselves up for so much more success with, and also a good bike as well. A lot of the younger riders, especially in this area that we see, seem like a lot of them are lucky enough to have pretty good full suspension bikes that just didn't exist when we started. So it's really cool to see that that's a huge factor to safety and progression.
It's a big side, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
Both those points there. And I'm curious, I wanted to ask, talking about getting more women into mountain biking, or women identifying riders, and making the sport just more accessible, more friendly to everyone. what can we all do as riders, men or women, to help make this sport more supportive?
Yeah, I love that question because I think I often, I sometimes come back from the trails and I'm like, can't, this rider said this to me and I can't believe it. So kind of like storing those little nuggets. And I think just like treating everyone as like a rider. Like I love just using the word rider. So I've often like say, I'll give an example. I'm riding with a girlfriend. We're just pedaling along. Group of dudes comes up on e-bikes and like, wow, aren't you girls fit? And it's just like, huh? We're just riding our bikes.
Yeah.
And they're just like this recognition that they would never. I don't believe that they would say that to a group of men riding.
Yeah, like where are my compliments? Come on.
I just don't know if you get that a lot.
That's like a weird thing to say.
Like I wouldn't ride up behind someone else and tell them that. It was definitely like a gendered comment. And so that would be a start of just taking away any any kind of like gendered conversation. Or even like, oh, you'll be at features and all the guys are doing it and there might be a couple dudes and this is just from personal experience. Maybe it's never happened outside of this. But guys will be standing there and they're having trouble hitting the feature. They're like, well, I'm too scared. I'm not feeling it. And then a girl comes and does it and they're like, I'm doing it. And you're just like, interesting. So I think things like that still show that there's like a gendered conversation around it. It's like you actually think more people are maybe subconsciously thinking that girls, maybe it's surprising when girls are good at it. And I'll get that quite a bit too, is like, not willing to, that sort of like sizing each other up in a group and not dropping in is I make the mistake of always putting myself behind males or like in the back of the group. I just still do it. And I don't mind. I like riding in the back, whatever.
Yeah.
But every once in a while, I came a bit of my way and they just won't let it happen, So
Right.
There's all these little just sort of like things like day-to-day things that I think are still happening.
And like maybe little things, but they cool down
and they show like they really maybe reflect on like a global understanding of how we view men and women in sport.
Outside of
like you got that idea from somewhere.
Yeah, I love that advice of just like going back to like treat everyone like a rider.
Mm-hmm.
We're all equal. We're all in the sport having shown. Yeah.
And look if you're seeing a girl hit a drop that the male is, or say it could be in reverse too. Like I see a male hitting something and I'm like, whatever. Like I just won't look at it as male and female. I'll be like, that person had really good body position. That person didn't. I'm gonna follow that person. Doesn't matter if they're man or a woman.
Yeah. So leave gender out of it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And also wise words. I read somewhere online when I was doing some research, a great quote. He said, passion first and everything will fall into place. I love if you did speak on that a little bit.
Yeah, I think that quote really spoke to me when I first saw it. And again, I think it's been one of those quotes in my life for a while. But it's like if you're like truly excited about something, if you crave something, if you want something bad enough, you just follow that. And like no worries about like how you're gonna get the money for it or where it's gonna lead you. Like just follow that like desire essentially, and that's kind of how I treat most things. I don't think it's always led me to think the best decisions, maybe financially, but it's been really fun.
Totally. Yeah. It's such a great quote, and I'm smiling. It's totally right. That's why we're sitting here today. But it's a little bit like mountain biking, isn't it? It can be scary at times.
Yeah.
Blindly following that passion when you're not quite sure.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, do you draw any parallels between what you're doing in business or through a foundation and riding itself?
Yeah, for sure. I think I do rely a lot on my intuition and what I'm feeling. And if I just get like a really bad feeling about something, I don't do it. And it's the same with riding. If I like today, out of the corner of my eye, if it's just like me, I don't push through that. Like I'm just like, not happening. And so I feel like I do live my whole life like that.
So the same thing kind of in your work and in your business.
Yeah, relationships too.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty quick to make decisions and I'm pretty quick to make change. If I'm not happy with something, I don't let it last for too long.
It's a good skill.
Because I don't really want to live in that like discomfort, I guess. Yeah. And I feel like I really have learned that from mountain biking or from doing stuff in the mountains for sure.
Totally. Yeah, I do find like in a biking sense, making quick decisions helps you like get out of that uncomfortable, kind of maybe anxious just to study.
Yeah, I think I used to really dwell on like especially I'd have hang-ups about features, I just dwell on it for way too long, and I would dwell on it on the drive there, I'd dwell on it on the drive back. I would like wake up thinking about it. I'd think about it all week. I'd go to that feature again, still can't do it. And that's like not the nicest like headspace to be in, because you kind of forget about all the riding that happened up to that point and after.
Totally.
And so now it's just like quick, like I get that like gut feeling, and it's like, and it's just that in that instant, and then I leave that instant behind and move on to the next thing.
I love it.
Do not let it stick around.
Yeah, it's such a grounded process. I'd love to dig into that a little bit more. Always like to ask my guests that we had talked about mountain biking and mindset.
Yes.
Do you have any specific like tools or processes that you'll use commonly on your trip?
Yeah, I think one thing I got, I kind of steal little snippets from coaching that I've had, and one of the things that really spoke to me a few years ago was that the coach that was coaching me said, tell yourself, like, before you get on your bike, you're like, I am a good rider, I know what I'm doing. Or like in my sense, he was like, you are a pro rider, you are good, you are dialed, like your bike is good, you've gone through all your checks, you do this quick like positive talk to yourself.
Right.
And if something comes up, like actually I didn't get much sleep last night, actually I'm like really upset right now. You kind of like recognize those things before you start riding. So that's a big thing for me. And then as I'm on the ride, I like, it's really easy for my mind to like wander, or even get scared. Like I'll start seeing the ground and like, oh, that really hurt to land on, or like, oh, look, that root sticking up there, or oh, that tree's really close. And I try to reverse that to I just start saying yes. And it's really weird. I find the word yes like is my secret weapon. Like it's such a powerful word. So whenever I'm coming to a feature, whenever I'm getting those negative thoughts, I just like yes.
I love
don't know. There's something about that word.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I've never heard like that particular one before. It's almost like a power word.
Yeah. So it's just one word, and I just like say it in my head, and every once in a while I have to say it out loud, like just like yes. And yeah, sometimes I say it to people that I'm coaching, like I'll just be like, eyes up, yes. And there's something about the word yes that everyone responds to, and they're really like,
I can see it in your body language as you're saying that.
Yes.
Yes, I can do this.
Yeah.
It's almost like a conditioned response now, like that word yes makes you behave in a certain way.
Yeah, and we've been conditioned since we were, beginning of words.
Yeah, really cool. So taking that, even that learning before you started riding a bike or riding a horse.
And I do find like the word no is the opposite of that.
Yeah.
And everyone kind of knows that.
I find it a similar thing with the words like do and don't, or like okay, kind of.
Yes.
I'm sure most mountain bikers listening, and maybe you as well, can relate to like don't look at the tree, don't look at the tree, don't break on the road stone.
Big on
what
that.
happens, right?
Yeah, I'm really big on that, especially when I'm coaching too, and people will be like, oh, I did this, or like, oh, I didn't do that, and I'm like, well, what did you do, or like, what are you doing, or what should you do, like, so I always try to rephrase my coaching as well, and like as to tell them what to do.
Totally.
I really try to rephrase my language to make sure that I'm never telling someone what not to do.
Yeah,
that's just what
and it's an easy
on.
trap to fall into, isn't it? Like so often I think we are conditioned to look for the threats, to focus on what could hurt us, what could happen. And it's like you said that, cool, like recognize kind of the potential consequences. And then it's like, if we're going to do it, yes.
Yeah, exactly. And that's all that's there. Yeah. I think, the only other one too that's been like helpful for me is one girlfriend was riding with me. I think my head must have been down or something, and she was just like, "Look ahead, motherfucker!" And so, like, that's another one that I'll just say to myself.
Yeah,
and it's just this aggressive, like, like, look ahead.
It's like sometimes we do need like an aggressive command.
Yeah, it's just like
pull ourselves out of,
And I was like, oh, okay. So that's sort of between those two things. It's pretty simple, but that's kind of what I rely on.
I love both of those. I often ask about like specific mottos and things like that. And you just answered the question. That's fantastic. And it was cool riding with you today. We rode like a nice fun zone trail for both of us. We had 2-stroke spoke here in ~𝗲𝗄𝗃. And then we got onto like a little kind of janky connector after that, and maybe a specific turn that we didn't want to do. But it was cool kind of, being with you and kind of seeing your process. It was a pretty quick process. Is there like specific steps in your process when you get to a feature and decide it's a yay or a nay?
Yeah.
Is there like a specific timeline there for you?
Yeah, for sure. I will never ride in for more than 3 times. That's a big thing for me.
Yeah.
Unless something happened, like you were in the wrong gear, like you're like, it's just some wrong gear, like I couldn't place it on the pedal, like sure, I'll let that one go.
Right.
But yeah, try to stick to 3 times. I try to kind of like step back from something and kind of like look for the whole line. So I really make sure I like look way down the trail to like see my run out and like visualize. I'm not visualizing me doing it. I'm just like visualizing where my eyes will be as I'm coming in. Because people always say like, oh, but can you visualize yourself doing it? I'm like, I don't think I've ever visualized myself doing anything.
So rather than like a third person bird's eye view,
Yeah, I've never
it's
had
almost
that.
like
Yeah.
first person.
Yeah, and like it's almost like a simulator in a video game or something. Like what is it actually gonna feel like? And so that like from a drop, I always like step way back. I'm like, hey, this is what I'm gonna see on my bike, right? I'm like, this is where I'm gonna see my landing, and then I just like quickly memorize that, and then walk back up the trail. And the whole time while I'm walking back up the trail, I like have that in my head, and I say yes the whole time.
That's great.
Yeah, and then I will decide if I'm going to do a run in to something. I'm like, this is my run in, and I'm not trying to do it. So I'm very clear with myself.
Great.
And then if I see it, then I'll go back and do it. And if I'm going to do it, then I'm 100% doing it.
So you do that run in, and then if you're like, okay, yeah, that is cool, I'm going to do it. Is that where like the point of commitment piece comes in for you?
Yeah, totally. And it's kind of that like, you've probably heard people say like the green light, yellow light, or red light. So say on that rocks day, that was kind of a yellow light the whole time. Yep. Where I was like, maybe, like we'll just see. Like if I see it, I'll do it. You know, very yellow light.
Totally.
But there's lots of spots to stop before that happens. But if I know that like this is hard at this tree, I always pick a commitment point. It's usually like a tree or a rock or something at this tree. If I'm not feeling it, my last opportunity to stop. Totally. And if not, then I like just point my fingers forward. I don't death grip ever, but I just point my fingers forward, so off the brakes, and we are doing it.
I love that. Yeah. It's not a good habit to get into, like the reverse, or like occasionally go through the last point where we can safely stop.
Yeah.
And we're doing like these emergency stops with maybe like one spot to put our foot down. Or, like,
I try to have that spot quite early, and I really rely on my feeling and my kind of in my body to tell me if I get this like big like kind of like visceral urge of like I'm gonna throw up or like any kind of like really nasty, you know, that feeling where you get really scared. That's kind of, I don't like to ride in that state ever.
Yeah, we're not in a good state to access these skills we have in
that
state.
But if I like have seen it and I really want it, and I know it's gonna feel nice, then I'll get her done.
Fantastic. Yeah. And like leading on from there, do you ever have any days where perhaps you feel like that feeling in your chest or in your gut, where I don't know, but deep down, like maybe you've done this feature before, you have the specific skill set to get it done, you really want to do it.
Yeah.
Do you have any process you go through that to get yourself into perhaps maybe more of a calm state?
Yeah, I actually had that last weekend. I was at these dirt jumps, and I'm not a very confident dirt jumper just because I don't do it very often. So you're just dealing with the bike that's, you know, less suspension, no brakes, or less brakes, less tires, less everything, and a steeper lip and a gap, which is like a lesser bike and like suddenly a harder feature in a way. Like A-line is almost safer.
Harsher terrain.
Yeah.
More skill set. Right?
Yes. Yeah. But quite small and relatively speaking to what you would do on a mountain bike. And so I know I have the skills to do it. I jump a lot. But yeah, I had this weekend where I just had to like freaking have a timeout. Like I just had to sit there and watch people do it and just be like, what can go wrong? Like this is totally fine. And I just couldn't do it. And then suddenly like I just got on my bike and rode towards, like I didn't do any of that mental process. I just got my bike and rode towards it and hit it. Like I just kind of like blanked, you know?
Yep.
And sometimes I have to do that.
Okay.
Like I just have to force myself to just get on my bike, start pedaling, look ahead, and just do it. And I just try to like kind of more empty mind.
You find, that process of action or movement helps you empty your mind?
Yeah, I just have to get going. Yeah. Or sometimes I'll just like keep riding other stuff and try to get the feeling somewhere else.
Yeah.
And then come back. But yeah, often I'm not like being as systematic, like running into it. There's no thought process involved at all.
Yeah.
It's just like, just go.
I like that. Yeah, often I'll do a similar thing like hike, step where I'm higher on the trail than I need to ride the feature that's kind of in question. And that process of riding and this feeling of where it helped me feel better about the feature to work.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
That's an interesting one. I don't think I'm not like a big feature hitter either, so it's fine. I don't go through that process too many times in a week.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe one feature a week, you could say.
Yeah, that's a helpful amount.
Yeah. It's not like I don't like overwhelm my ride with constant nervous system overloads.
Yeah, well, similar to what we're chatting about on our ride, it's nice sometimes just to be like riding these trails that are like right in the fun zone.
Yeah.
Like it's, I guess, interesting and engaging enough to keep us on our toes, to keep us interested, but not so over the top that we're like feeling like it might fall off a cliff at any world.
And I respect that some people like that. for some
Cool.
people. Or often people even tell me, they're like, oh, you're such an adrenaline junkie. And that's why you like biking. It's like, actually, no. It's quite the opposite.
Yeah.
I like biking because it's like this beautiful, calm flow, and it's expressive, and it's like good feels, and it feels very good.
Yeah.
But I actually don't. I'm not like hyped up on adrenaline while I do it. It feels nice.
Yeah, I think we're all kind of chasing those same feelings on different levels or in different planes. Yeah.
Totally.
And yeah, for sure, like we might see some people riding stuff that is really, really challenging for us. And we're like, oh, that's crazy. You must love, being fearful all the time. And
Yeah.
perhaps maybe they're not fearful. Or
Exactly.
Maybe that's just
Yes.
something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Super interesting thinking about it through different set of lenses. Eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you might go through stages in your life where like the fear is a little more fun, where you like you need to like go off a big drop to be like, I'm alive, and you go through other times where you'd rather just pedal up a hill all day.
Yeah.
And like again, the rush from being tired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love like going back to what you were talking about earlier, like doing a bit of a check-in
Mm-hmm.
before the ride, like maybe some positive affirmations, but also recognizing that if there is anything that is not ideal, that's okay. It's very nice.
That's a good way to like, if you do find something's off, like a good reminder to like really focus or like get your elbows out and look ahead, because maybe today is you're not quite on it.
Totally. I'll often do that at the end of a big ride as well. Be like,
Oh,
okay,
nice.
like, I'm not feeling quite as good now as when I
Yeah.
was at the start of the ride.
Yeah,
We've
focus.
still got quite a lot of terrain to get down. It's like,
Yeah.
like really focusing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we were chatting a little bit on our ride there about some of the trail building work you've done, in particular with the new One Up Trail and Airplane Merge here in
Okay.
𝗬𝗏. And we're talking there about the relationship between all that time you spend out there shaping the corners, shaping the jumps, and talking with some of the other trail builders, and how that actually worked into your process or the confidence for riding the trail afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love if you could tell us a little more about that.
Yeah, and part of that too is my partner, I'm seeing every day. He traveled way more than I do, so I often see it through him, where I can see his progression in riding because of how he builds trail. So just like feeding off of that, going out with him and him describing to me what he's feeling. So he's like, I'm gonna build this catch here because you're gonna need to slow down for this next thing. And then I'm just like, oh, you need to slow down with a corner for the next thing. And I'm like, oh, I can use a corner to slow down. Ah. So just those little tidbits of like learning how to use a trail, and it's like through trail building that I've come across those little tidbits. But yeah, learning how jumps are shaped has been really cool, because I think I was quite afraid of the size of gap. And then it kind of took me to realizing like the size of gap doesn't actually matter. It's just like all the amount of speed you can generate before it. And you really don't, it's more dangerous to have a small gap. I mean, everyone knows this on a fast trail. So if you're making that part really fast, you better make your gap much larger, or your land, it doesn't have to be a gap, but your landing needs to be much further for it actually to be safer. So it was like that kind of thing. It was like, we don't need to, you might have seen people do it, or maybe I've done it too, where you're like, go down to a gap and you measure it. And you're like, it's 3 bike lengths. I've done 3 bike lengths before. It's sure, but like, what's the speed like coming in? Maybe you're going way too slow to hit 3 bike. Like the size of the gap actually does not matter. The only thing that matters is like the speed you have.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's like, it's an interesting one to wrap our head around there when we're talking about the mentorship, isn't it? Because so often we're looking at the gap.
Yeah.
Whereas logically, most of us, like, what we need to do is look at the takeoffs, look at the landing, and then think about our speed.
Yeah. There's so many people who will be like, can I do this drop? If I've done this drop this size, I'm like say the airplane mode drop was a brilliant example of that, being around that, being shaped. I remember when it was being built, I was like, Razor, that's way too big. Like, are you serious? Like, no one's gonna be able to ride that. And he's like, no, trust me. I'm like, that's the run-in? Like, you get like 2 pedal strokes. Like, I just couldn't put it
You
together.
get out of your car at the parking lot and you're at a 10-foot trough.
Yeah, and then when I finally hit it, and it's literally the most perfect drop I've ever hit, and like it is fairly big, like, but there's no way I'm gonna measure that and then take that size to somewhere else. Be like, well, I hit airplane mode drop, so I'll be able to hit this one. That's half the size. It's like, it just doesn't work that way, because I'll be more scared of like an awkward little log or rock hop. It's like this big than I am of that drop. So suddenly that process actually doesn't really work very well.
I totally agree. It's really good information for people. It's that how do you assess a good drop? What makes a good drop versus, well, a drop that's going to be more technical, more challenging?
Yeah, for sure. And again, I think I learned that through helping out with that trail, was their process of the speed that everyone says go at trail speed, which
Yes.
sounds like a bit of a joke, but it is kind of true. It's like if the trail offers you the speed, you shouldn't have to like pedal or brake too much. So if I'm not pedaling or braking too much, that's huge. And then the landing should really match your takeoff. So for a drop, I really look for like a nice steep landing. If the landing's like flat at all, it can be quite a small drop and be quite painful or difficult. And I actually had a really bad injury because I had impact. I broke my ankle through an impact injury. So it's made me see drops and jumps very differently. I no longer care how big they are. Totally care how high in the air I go. All I care about is like, do I have the speed and what is the landing going to feel like?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great approach.
Yeah.
It is true. I've never really thought about it, but it's something that, students bring in really commonly to coaching sessions. So they're like, I've done a 3 black foot gap jump, or I've done a 6 foot drop.
Yeah.
But it's a great point. Not all drops are the same. Not all drops are the same.
Or like, you'll see people hit crabapple hits in Whistler
Mm.
and then come to a stop at a 2 bike length gap on a technical trail. And it's like, why does that happen?
Yeah.
It's again, they're just like, they're not equal. If you have trail speed and you have good landing, that can be quite big and feel quite easy. Versus like when you have to like pump and pedal and bunny hop, suddenly it's not so easy.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's been a huge learning process for sure.
It is that. Yeah. Really interesting takeouts there. And I'm curious, thinking back over the years, what has been one of your biggest challenges on the bike?
Yeah, kind of like mentioning that ankle injury. I have had some. I guess that injury was very life changing for me because it was not a crash; it was through impact, and it took 2 years to recover from it. And 3 surgeries later, I was able to ride in between. So it wasn't like I took 2 years off biking or anything, but I can't clip it. It has altered my life completely.
Right.
And I just really it was really hard for me to like mentally get past the risk aspect of biking that could happen again. It really affected me pretty strongly for sure. So I've had to do a lot of work to get past that.
Totally, yeah. So you've kind of changed the way you ride. You're riding
completely.
flat pedals
Yes.
now, you're wearing ankle braces.
Yeah.
What else has changed for you in terms of like that assessment of like that risk versus reward piece?
Yeah, I started getting a lot of coaching. Yeah, so I think it's really important to keep learning. Like for me, I kind of realized that it's like mountain biking is going to continue to be risky, but life is risky. There's nothing that's going to keep us safe in this world, really. But if you can stay strong, so going to the gym or whatever it is that gets you strong, yoga, whatever. And then if you can have good technique, then you are more set up for those things not happening. So got coaching. Like even this summer, I was kind of telling you, I did weekly coaching. I've had a lot of private lessons. I've just tried to learn wherever I could, and then hitting the gym pretty hard, that kind of thing. So just hopefully setting myself up for a little bit more success, and then trying really hard not to like let myself get carried away worrying about being injured. Just try not to think about it. I do find I have to like really avoid talking about it.
Okay.
About when people are like start bringing up the stories and you're riding your bike and you're like, this drop, I did this, and over here is where I crashed that time. So I'm like, okay, I actually like, let's talk about that when we're over a beer or something. Like I actually can't talk about it while I'm riding because I can't believe how triggering it is. Like suddenly I'm just like, I don't even want to ride anymore. Or like if I see a crash, someone else get really hurt, I kind of like can't ride anymore for that day.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. It's just like you're not alone there. I've had other guests from this podcast talk about like not even wanting to entertain the idea of crashing.
Yeah.
And to the point of like dodging people like throwing
Nope,
angles.
I cannot.
And
Yeah.
just like politely stopping a friend if they're starting to talk about seeing someone go over the head of us.
Yeah, and you're like, I did not want
can you talk about that afterwards? Not while we're right here, but it's something I've tried to take on in my own right. I think it's helped me a lot.
Yeah, and people are like, don't watch me when I crash, or like, I see so many places where I can crash, or like they start talking about like, nope, just block it out of your head. Like, yes, we accept it could happen, but we're just not even gonna like look at where we would crash. This is not gonna happen.
Yeah. I wanted to kind of lead in here. You're doing work as an RMT full time. I think I also read somewhere that it might have been like one of the setbacks on the bike that kind of inspired you to go down that road. Is that right?
Indeed, yes. I actually broke my other ankles.
I'm sorry to bring that up.
Yeah, my poor ankles. No, like, and again, I don't mind talking about it. Like, this is my line of work as well. I do not want to talk about a bike.
Yeah.
For like different variety.
Yeah.
But yes, the when I broke my my other ankle, I guess 7 years ago now, I got my first massage, and yeah, I've been in pain for probably like 6 months. It was like trying everything, like no relief. Went for massage. It was the first time that like I felt like I was like seen and like my sort of I was sort of like held, if you know what I mean.
Well,
And someone like really genuinely cared like deeply about my body, not just like on a sort of connection sense, but they were really fully in space for my leg, you know, and that felt so special. And I literally went home and looked it up on how to become an RMT because I'm like, this is the most magical thing. I didn't even know it existed from other than being like, oh, it's a massage. That must feel nice. I didn't realize how it felt to be like so deeply helped, you know, and seen. And the person doesn't even need to talk, you know. I didn't even know this person's name. So that was like very powerful for me.
What's that story? And talk about making big decisions. When you went,
Yeah,
you looked it
I make
up
quick
and
decisions.
you
Yeah.
went today. It's a fantastic skill to
Yeah.
have one. I think. Yeah, I'm still
And I didn't realize how hard the schooling process was, but we got it.
You got through that. That's awesome. Hats off
Yeah.
to you. And how important today is that kind of like mind-body connection in relation to your mountain biking, and how would you describe it?
Yeah, I think that is mountain biking for me, and I always tell people like feel the ground to your feet, feel it through that your ankle is flexing, and like I think I understand anatomy so well. I can almost like see what the joints and the muscles are doing like throughout riding, and I can feel, you know, it's not these really feelings. I'm like, just feel like your chest opening up, or feel that like hip hinge and sort of your glutes working, or yeah, I love those sensations on my bike, you know, or like I love that, you know, you're engaging your core and you instantly feel more stable and you get a straighter line, or I like live for those moments of where you like put more pressure in your outside foot and you like dig around a corner. Like I literally feel myself like smile, you know, or you hit the right spot on a takeoff where you press just perfectly with your feet and you get that like lift off feeling. Like, oh, that is
I
just,
love that.
yeah, it's just like everything for me, you know?
I want to be doing that right now.
Yeah.
Feeling that. As you're describing that there, you're feeling, it sounds really similar to me as like this idea of like a slow state.
Yes.
Really like in tune with what our body's doing. Do you find for you like this increased awareness of your body has helped you get into the slow state more often than more?
Oh, for sure. And that's like what I like. I guess I like kind of live my whole life and enjoying those moments like through dancing or like whatever movement-based thing I'm doing. That's kind of like where my mind likes to be at all times. And I think, and I love work as an RT through massage, through touch, because that I can, yeah, my hands are like feeling a whole world. And then biking, same thing. My body's just feeling this whole world. I don't really have to like use my brain that much.
Yeah.
Or like it's just a natural process, you know. We're just working.
Very intuitive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
see that just even as you describe it.
It's not math.
No one likes that.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
That's what mountain bike coaches do.
Yeah.
Not engineers.
Yeah.
That's great. And do you see a lot of mountain bikers like in your line of work?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I try never to talk about my work as an RMT while I'm coaching.
Yeah.
Because I don't really want to like sort of I want to be like, oh yes, we'll do this thing and you'll get injured and then I'll help you, or like I don't. It's just like that's a bit weird. People always laugh about it, or whatever, like, oh, you'll fix me up later. I'm
You're too
like,
cold and each other.
yeah, I'm like, yeah, well, it just sort of naturally happens.
Yeah.
But yes, I do see more, and I think because the whole thing with like sports massage is like know thy sport. It's like that's the whole base of sport massage, right? So I think I get that with mountain biking. Like people will even, be like, oh, my back hurts or my hip hurts, and I'll be like, what's your stem height? What's the rise in your handlebars? What saddle do you use? Like I know the bike parts quite well. So it's nice having that background.
That's really cool. Yeah, you're able to do more than like just give a massage. You'll actually back set up.
And it's like, how did this back pain happen while you were pedaling? Let's dive into that, you know?
That's super interesting.
I love how it works together.
Yeah,
for
the
sure.
two just complement each other.
Mhm.
I love it. I wanted to talk here a little bit about the racing you're doing as well. It's just another huge component that kind of ties into everything else. So why don't we start off by first talking about the race you did earlier this year, the Trans BC. Tell us about that.
Oh, it's so fun. It's a week-long race where you're doing an enduro every day. There's a really special thing about it is it's blind. So most enduros you do get to pre-ride and check out the course. This year it was in the 𝗬𝗽𝗹𝘆 area, so I definitely had like a local's advantage. But lots of people did. Like maybe half the people had, were familiar-ish with the trails.
Yeah.
But the race organizer is so dialed with that she'll link together trails in a way that you may not have ridden them before. So sure, you we're going down value added, okay, but you don't know what's after value add. There's 4 different options. So she is so good at keeping you on your toes to keep it feeling pretty blind. So that's really exciting. It's blind. The Trans BC is really known for 𝗳𝗽𝗆𝗆𝗆, pretty rowdy trails. So it makes for really good stories at the end of the day. Everyone's like, oh my God, did you see that shoot? Can't believe I rode that, So I love that aspect. Everyone's just so excited. And often people are riding stuff that they never thought they could ride, and they're like, if I'd seen that, there's no way I'd ridden it. Lots of people are chatting about that. It's a big party energy. Lots of people are party training. Yeah, I think people who came into the race really serious about trying to win and that thing were almost soon just dragged into the party atmosphere, and there's maybe very few by the end who still have that attitude that you see really. I mean, and it's a fine attitude to have, but you see it more in the one-day enduros or maybe EDRs or whatever, where it's just that really serious, every second counts, and just because the race is so long, it's just a chill, you turn around the corner and the volunteer will be naked, they're all playing fun tunes and dancing around, you can't help but just take a moment,
Yeah.
So it's just cool to see that sort of break. It's like a music festival. And it's
well,
everyone ends up just sort of breaking down the barriers a little bit.
Yeah. So for those that don't know, Trans BC is a 6-day enduro stage race, right? Different locations every day.
Yeah.
And what is it? 25, 30 kilometers a day, or is it more?
30 to 40 maybe.
Yeah.
They're some days are pretty savage.
And on double black trails.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And some days I think it's been bigger, smaller throughout the year, but they've been up to 2,000 meters in a day, and sometimes over that descending. So yeah, they're big days. It's not easy.
So how do you manage the nerves when you're riding gnarly trails blind, something that you haven't ridden before, but you're also doing that on fatigue by the time you get to your within 6 days?
That is the thing. And that's why I always tell people who, I mean, it's not like I'm not a pro racer, right? I do this for fun. I do it on the side. I do it to stay healthy and just reach my own goals. So I don't have the training program, the time to train like a pro would. But I do say to people who are getting into it, who are training, it's the most important thing is to really get good at riding hard stuff tired. Because I think we do kind of what you're saying at the end of a long day. We're I have all this descending left. I need to focus. It's actually such a good thing to practice. Because I'm often around with people and they're like, oh, I'm just not I'm feeling too tired for this trail. And it's actually, that's okay. If you're wanting to do these kind of races, obviously.
Yeah.
It's okay to ride tired. You just have to modify it.
Totally.
Maybe you'll be taking different lines because, man, I feel like I'm a pretty good rider when I have the energy. When I'm tired, it all goes out the window. I think there was one downhill trail where my only thought process is, where can I sit down? Where can I shake out my hands? Because the stage is 12 minutes long, and I am so tired. So that really you never think about that when you're practicing a race run, right?
Yeah. And do you have any tricks to say you're really tired, you mess up a couple of corners? Do you have any tricks for leaving that behind?
Yeah, you really have to. Again, that friend saying, "Look ahead, motherfucker." That's what goes in my head.
Right. So you've kind of got this cue ready.
Yeah, exactly, and that is my cue.
Thing with the person.
And sometimes yelling is really good. So I come around the corner and just go. And that just, I don't know, that helps.
Get it out.
Yeah. And also making a lot of exhaling, really strong exhaling will help, and that just centers you a little bit. And then also pressing through my pedals. So I always tell people press through their pedals to instantly center themselves, and I'll again just do that to get myself grounded and leave that shitty moment behind. And also at this point you get so used to having hundreds of shitty moments that what's another shitty moment?
Yeah.
It's just funny
just
at this
a cool
point. Yeah. And then you really kind of the whole thing really comes together when you can just slow down a little bit and look further ahead and ride really smooth. You actually stop having these messy moments. Yeah, or you just don't even remember that you had them.
Yeah, and all of a sudden you've refocused and reset.
Yeah.
Yeah, wise words that.
Yeah. It is surprising when someone really fast passes you and you're like, oh, that's how the trail's supposed to be ridden. I see. You're just having this nice, smooth, beautiful, zen time, and then someone buzzes by, and you're like, all right,
race
Humbled.
energy.
Yeah.
Totally.
Should probably go a bit faster here.
It's a different vibe, isn't it? I wanted to ask, like, how does your mindset differ for racing versus running for fun?
Yeah, totally. I think that's why I love racing, because it really gets me amped, and I struggle. I'm a pretty like chill person, and like if I were to tell someone who knows me really well that I'm lazy, they wouldn't believe me, but I think I actually kind of am. Like I just like am not like this hyper like try hard every single second. Like I love just kind of like chilling. I'm obviously very active, like try hard. But I just need that like motivation. I need that like carrot in front of me to like really give her. And so I love racing because it's just automatic. Like I do not have to try. Like it's just the carrot is there,
Totally.
and it's so fun. And so I actually have like it's just more fun when I have motivation to go fast. And I leave sort of the risk part out the window. Like all my only goal is to go fast. I don't really care about anything else,
Okay.
and it makes me ride way better.
Amazing.
So yeah, so it works for me.
Do you find kind of sketchy moments and crashes go up when you operate?
They
like
used
that?
to.
Yeah.
Yep. When I first started racing, that was all that would happen.
Okay.
Is I would just crash. It was mechanicals crashing. Yeah, it was really bad. And I just learned how to like. Well, I built my skill. I built my fitness. I started to really understand where those crashes were coming from and why it was happening. And then I think now I drop into a race and I strategize with myself as to where I'm going to gain the speed. Like, okay, and my goal for this race is I'm going to lean my bike over in every corner. I'm going to pedal like crazy on the flats. I'm going to try really hard on the ups. And then the rest, I'm just going to ride really chill.
Smart moves. Yeah.
So I just
like
come
the
up with that
tactical piece
strategy.
comes into it.
Where
Yeah.
I think initially all I could focus on was the steep stuff, the gnarly stuff. And I just go like full no brakes into stuff, blow up,
Yeah.
and then like do nothing on the flats, like not even pump, you know?
That's it.
Because I'd be like so recovered from like, that was so wild, you know? And now I'm just like, I slow right down to the steep stuff, just get through it and then go again.
It's a great approach. Yeah. So like leverage your strengths. Like yeah, really strong right now. I can pedal on the ups. These bits are really gnarly. I need to be just right in the control.
Yeah. And now maybe I went a bit too far on the conservative side, like too used to racing at 70%. Now maybe I could like up it a little bit because maybe I hold back too much. But it's finding that balance, right?
Totally. It's
Yeah.
a tricky balance to find. I find myself, quite often in race tracks. I wish I pushed a little bit
I
harder.
know. Yeah.
Because I could really relate now. Like, just being a chiller and ran for fun 99% of the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, racing definitely a cool tool to get you motivated.
Yeah, and to like focus on riding really well, and because crashes are slow.
Yeah, and I wanted to talk about kind of like confidence in that competitive environment. We were chatting there at the track before our ride about, like, you mentioned that I don't check my race results mid-race anymore.
Yes,
Let's talk about that.
Yeah. I think I kind of learned that the hard way. Like, I just really get in my own head. The first trans race I did, I checked race results the first day, and I was actually doing really well. And then it kind of like got to my head a little bit, and that's all I could think about. While I was, I'd be riding down an early section, and all I could visualize was like the black lettering on a white piece of paper in a list, and that's all I could see, and it just like became too much. I was like, that's all I want is my name to be in that second place or whatever. And I lost sight of like riding itself, and then when that black lettering on the white sheet went lower, it destroyed me.
Yeah.
Like I was so focused on it staying in that spot, and then as it dropped lower, I just like fully couldn't handle it. And it was so weird how just this one image of some letters on a piece of paper were like affecting my life. Like that's messed up. Like it's just some letters on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
It means nothing.
It sounds so silly, but I'm sure there's so many people who race here and are listening to
Yeah.
crap, that's me. Done that before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, you just have this whole day that you're out like climbing mountains and you're with people and you're riding epic trails. Like how are we forgetting about all of that and just having our emotions controlled by this little, because basically you tag out and you get handed this slip of paper and you look and suddenly your whole emotions change. It's just so messed up to me.
Yeah, it's like that outcome orientation, isn't it, without meaning it?
Yeah.
Like we're so focused on the outcome of moving up in the numbers, doing better, becoming like a particular place.
Yeah, you forget about everything amazing
thinking
that
about
happened that day,
How to have fun or how to go fast or whatever the process goes on.
Or like all the amazing views that you saw, you just forget about it.
Yeah, so like what do you do now? You get handed a bit of paper?
I I just don't let them even hand it to me. I'm just like, no, I'm good.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I don't need a receipt.
Yeah. And then it's kind of funny because, throughout the day, you start kind of like being curious and people start commenting, like, oh, you're doing really well. And then other girls will be like, you go ahead, you're faster. And I was like, how do you know that? Or like, so you get these little hints that like maybe you're doing well and it's kind of fun. But even that, I have to be really careful because then I'll be riding down the trail like, oh, she said I was fast. Like, cool. I'm going fast. Woohoo. And then boom, I hit a rock. I'm like, whoa, like, ride your bike.
Yeah, you're trying to live up to this image of being fast and the girl behind you's out.
Yeah, so I'm trying to be really careful. It's not like an easy process at all, but I'm just really trying to focus on the riding and not care.
And the basics.
Yeah, and then if I do see that my name is, second to last or whatever, I just have to, like, again, just remember all those good moments in the day and really try not to worry about too much.
Yeah, I know. It's tricky, isn't it? At the end of the day, like, it's always a good day if you get to spend your day there.
Yeah, exactly. And then I think when I'm at the point where I can emotionally handle it, then it's fun to look at results and be like, okay, I can now strategize by like, maybe halfway through. Like this last race, I actually did look at the results halfway through.
Okay. Yeah.
And then I was emotionally stable,
right.
And I was able to be like, okay, I need to make up 10 seconds on that stage. And I actually like used that to motivate me in a positive way. It didn't throw me off. And then you're at the place where it's now okay.
So you said, okay, I need to make up 10 seconds. Did you go then to, how am I going to do that?
Yeah, exactly. It was very strategic. It's like, I am going to sprint. Yeah, because I can always make time up on the sprints, but to say like, oh, I'm going to really send it, or oh, I'm just not going to break as much, like, not a great way to do it.
Yeah, it needs to be a little more specific.
Yeah.
Yeah, and how did it go?
It actually went really well this time around. Yeah.
It sounds like you really cracked the code, like dialed in a bit of a process specific to you, the strengths over all these years of racing.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to start wrapping things up here. It's been a great conversation. But I want to ask if you've got any industry partners or sponsors you'd like to mention that will help stakeholders.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a good call.
Yeah, I think, Kona Bikes is a really special one to me because my first bike was Kona. And it's so amazing to come for full circle and just see how the brand's developed. I knew from like day one with Kona that their whole mindset was like, have fun on bikes, and their bikes are like known. I love Kona bikes so much because every single Kona I hop on is just this fun, playful bike, and they all feel that way.
Yep.
So that one's really special. I'm really happy to be on Kona. Noble Wheels, also like such a huge one for me because I like randomly demoed them at a Crankworks and fell in love with the wheels. So it's just cool to like work with a company that I just love their product so much. And it went from like just demoing them and the feel was so good.
Right.
So that's always a big thing for me. If it feels good, it's worth it, One Up Components, amazing because I'm just like so proud of where that company's come from. So amazing to rep their parts. Seven Mesh, amazing local brand. Again, it's like you put on their piece of clothing and it feels good. And that goes so beyond something else. It's not just a brand, it's a feeling.
Yeah.
My suspension that I run out of Alba.
Yeah, you're on the EX2 as well.
Oh my goodness.
Nice.
That kind of actually came out of the ankle injury.
Okay.
Because I was really struggling with the air shock and got recommended to check out the EXT oil shock. And it honestly allowed me to ride my bike. Like I wouldn't even be able to mountain bike. Maybe I would now. By the time when my ankle was pretty bad, I wouldn't have been able to bike without it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's all based on a feeling. Yeah, so I think all those brands I work with are like they're very very special to me. Yeah.
Some really cool brand partners there. It's sweet to hear a couple of local names as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. And I want to ask, like, you've got lots going on, kind of finishing up this season, getting into the fall with 𝗳𝗹𝗴𝘀𝗵. Is there any other cool projects you're working on? I know you're about to head off for some more racing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm about to go on a 2-month road trip across the states to the East Coast and go for another the Trans New England race, which I'm really excited about. So I think it'll be a really good time just to connect with my partner and ride a new spot every day. And we're going to try to do a little bit of filming to kind of get a little our goal is to show a little snippet of each trail zone that we ride. So I'm really excited to work with him for the first time on doing some social media stuff together or do some creative projects. Really chill, but something creative with him. So that's kind of our next big project, and then we'll go from there.
That's right.
Yeah.
And where can people find you and follow along with some of these adventures online?
Yeah. Instagram is really the best way. And it's Joe_Peters.
Fantastic. I'll put that in the show notes as well to make it nice and easy.
Yeah, thank you.
Right, well, thanks so much for such a great conversation. It's been super inspiring, and honestly, I'm just excited to go and ride my bike. Get some more of those good times.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
What's up, guys? Just one more thing before you hit the trails. If you enjoyed this podcast, please be sure to subscribe and don't be a stranger. I'd love to hear from you about any topics or any particular episodes that you enjoyed, and even about any guests that you'd like to hear me have on the show in the future. You can find me on Instagram at _mind_mountain. This podcast, mountain biking, and mindset are all things that are very close to my heart, so I feel super grateful to be able to share these conversations with you. So much love to you all for taking the time to listen. I'll see you next time.